Hello, everyone. I'm the Elite Program Coach here at Melise in Salt Lake City. Melise is a holistic supplementation company that's been serving communities since 1983. And today I am so very excited to be able to highlight one of our trusted wellness advocates, John Hoime. Hi, John. Thank you so much for joining me today. Will you please start with introducing yourself, telling us where you're from, and a little bit about what you do?
Well, my name is, like you mentioned, my name is John Hoime. I am a holistic health practitioner. I work out of the Massachusetts and Connecticut area. I have 3 locations, complete full-service wellness centers, 2 in Massachusetts and 1 in Connecticut, in the Hartford area. I've been doing this now for 21 years, working with the Melise product and helping people maintain and retain their immune systems.
Okay, great. So how did you originally discover Melise?
Well, it's kind of an ironic story. I spent 20 years in the United States military, active duty, and I retired way back in 1989. And I thought I was healthy for the most part, and I think I was back then. But as time went on and a lot of stress, different things happened in my life, went through a very difficult divorce, etc. My health started to deteriorate, and I didn't think much of it. Gained a lot of weight, ballooned up to 250 pounds, and on a lot of medications and different things. Doctors would have me come in about every 3 months and do blood work because they were concerned about the meds I was on and what it was doing to the liver, etc. But having no knowledge of anything, I just did what I was told. And one day in 1999, I believe it is, I had a doctor tell me, my primary, tell me, John, you need to get your affairs in order because you are not doing well. And his quote was, you're going to be face down the pavement, and there's not really anything more we can do for you. At that time, I was at the ripe old age of 49, and I just thought, wow, that seems kind of extreme. Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. So I left the doctor's office. I went home. I threw out all my medication, and my thought process was, at that time, if the good Lord wants me to leave this earth, that's what I'm ready to do. I decided to take no more medication. My sister, who I call my Irish twin, we're only 11 months apart, and she's younger. She asked me how it went, and I told her, I flushed down all my medical pills, everything, flushed them down the toilet, and she just freaked out on me and said, oh, you can't do that, you have to stay on the stuff. And I said, well, I'm not. But luckily, she knew Dr. Linda Nelson, because my sister used to work in the Midwest, where we were raised in Minnesota, North Dakota, and she'd met Dr. Nelson. So she told me, I want you to go see this doctor. And she told me about her, and my first thought was, no, I'm done with doctors, and that's just the way it is. And she insisted, and Dr. Nelson happened to be doing some seminars in Chicago. And my sister insisted that I go to Chicago. She bought the plane ticket, said, you're going to go, that's it. So I thought, well, I'll go to Chicago. I'll meet with her, what I have to lose. Went out there and met with Dr. Nelson and sat in one of her seminars. And afterwards, I sat down with her and told her what was going on. And in about 10 minutes, she said, you have candida. And I had never heard of such a thing. Candida to me was a song when I was a kid. And Alex, you won't know this, but there was a song when I grew up called Oh Candida. And it was sung by Tony Orlando and Dawn. And that's the only thing I thought of when she said, you have candida. And I asked her about that. And she looked at me, gave me one of her patented stares. And I don't think she thought that was real funny. And she said, this is something that is serious and you need to take care of it. And so I said, well, you know what? Tell me about it. and she told me what I had to do to get rid of it. And I'll be honest with you, at that time, I thought Dr. Nelson was a lunatic. I said, there is no way I'm going to do what you're telling me with the eating and the supplements and all this stuff. I said, I'm not doing that. And she looked at me and she said, when you're sick enough, you will. Or she says, you'll die a premature death, or worse yet, you'll be debilitated and somebody have to take care of you the rest of your life. It's your choice. That part scared me. As much as I love my sister, I just couldn't imagine my sister, my daughter, somebody having to take care of me. And I said, well, I'll try it. And she said, you don't try it. You either do it or you don't. And she says, we're not going to do it. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And don't waste my time. And again, I thought, boy, this lady has terrible bedside manner. But as it turned out, that was the best advice I probably ever received from somebody. So I brought everything back home to Massachusetts. I went on the program. I followed it to the letter because I was going to prove to my daughter, to my sister, etc., that it was just bad luck, bad germs, bad genes, whatever you want to look at it as. And it was just the way it is. And so they'd get off my case and tell me to, that I needed to do something. And lo and behold, my life changed. And as it turned out, Linda Nelson has been my mentor ever since. I called her up when I got done with the program and said, why didn't my doctor do this for me before? She said, well, that's a different subject for another time. And I said, why don't you have facilities around here to help people that have the same issues I have? Because I can't be the only person like this. And she agreed. She said, you're not. There's thousands of people that have the same issues or worse, and they just don't know it. And I said, I would really like to help people that have this kind of a problem. And she said, if you're serious about working with people and helping people and mentoring them, let's work together. And that's how it all started. So I started working with her, got into the Melisse products back it was late 1999. And then I opened up my full-time spa in Southwick, Mass in 2000.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Not many people can say that they were introduced to Melisse or a program by first meeting Dr. Linda Nelson.
Probably not.
Yeah, so that's pretty incredible that that's where you started. Will you do a favor for me and kind of dive into some of the detail of what your symptoms were before you had met her and really what you were doing to remedy that? I know you said you had visited doctors for about every 3 months, you're doing the blood work and then taking quite a few medications. But will you kind of elaborate for me on, just kind of which medications you were taking and how it was or wasn't working for you at that time?
Well, I was on blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, anxiety, antidepressants. I was on, I think there was a couple other things, but I was just on so many things. I used to get panic attacks so bad that I would actually black out for no reason. I would just I took many, many trips in ambulances. They thought I was having heart attacks. They thought, so they put me in the hospital overnight and do stuff. And the next day they tell me you're healthy. And I kept asking them, how can I be healthy if I black out all the time? That doesn't make any sense to me. And this is before the doctor had told me this. And they said, well, we need to increase your medication. We need to put you on antidepressants. They kept increasing my antidepressants. I didn't think I was depressed, but I would just go through periods of time when I had equilibrium problems. I would get headaches galore. And of course, my weight was out of control and I was craving the sugars and the breads and all that stuff that we all eat when we think that it's going to help us or we don't know any better. I don't know. And so I just kept going through this vicious cycle of increased medications, different medications, etc. And I remember after I went through the program, I went back to the same doctor and I went and got my blood work done. And because they would make me come in a week in advance, get my blood work, and then a week later I'd see the doctor. Well, I gave my blood work on a Friday, And on Tuesday, they called me and said, we need to see you right away. And I was like, uh-oh, this is really bad. You know, they've never called me before and say, get in here right away. And after what they told me 3 months earlier, I thought maybe my time was much shorter. So I went back in, they took more blood, and they wouldn't tell me why. And I thought, this is strange. I said, do I still come in for my appointment with the doctor? And they said, absolutely, for that Friday. So I went in on Friday, see the doctor, and the nurse kept bringing in the blood pressure machines, and she'd hook me up and she'd look at stuff and she'd take it out and she'd come back in and did it manually. And she kept, and I got really worried then. I thought there was really something wrong. And the doctor walked in and he said to me, he says, everything's perfect. And I said, really? I said, why did I have to come back for blood work again? Why did I have to, what was the deal with the nurse here? And they said, we thought we had the wrong blood test because your cholesterol is great, your blood pressure is fine, and we thought there was a problem with the machines today and your blood work the other day, et cetera. And I said, well, let me tell you what I did. And I told him, and unfortunately, he never really even looked at me. He just said one word. He said, coincidence. And I said, wow. So I thought to myself, that's strange. Everything's great. And I thought I was on top of the world, and I thought he would be, but he didn't seem to be. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was he started writing prescriptions. And I said, why are you writing those prescriptions? And he said, because I want you back on them. And I said, well, you just told me everything was perfect. Why would I go back on the prescriptions? I haven't taken them for 3 months. I threw them out the day I left here. And he said, because it might come back. And I said, well, if it's going to come back, I said, it'll have to come back and I'll do it then. And unfortunately, he told me at that time, he said, well, if you're not going to take the medications, don't bother coming back here. And that was the last time I went to that particular doctor. So that's the symptoms I had. And after I got done with the program, by the time I was done with the program, I started sleeping very well because I didn't sleep at all. I had a horrible time. I dreaded nights because I would be awake virtually all night, but tired during the day. I was always so tired during the day that I just felt I couldn't function. And then at night, I'd go to sleep for maybe, an hour, and then I'd be awake. And I would toss and turn, and by morning would come, I would feel like if I could just lay here a little bit longer, I think I'd go to sleep. But of course, I never would. And so all that changed for me over 20 years ago. All those symptoms, and to be right up front, I have not taken a single medication. I have taken that back. One time I took antibiotics because I had to have a tooth replaced, and they made me take it before they put me in the chair. And the dentist knows me well enough, and he looked in my mouth and made sure I swallowed it because he knew that I probably wouldn't. That's the only thing I've taken, nothing across the counter, no medication for going on 21 years.
Wow, that's really fantastic. Congratulations. So it sounds extremely frustrating, the amount of years that you went through going through all the testing and taking all the medications you did. And then you had made that decision to stop taking the medications. You started to feel better, but in that in-between time, before you had met Dr. Linda Nelson and started your program, were you really just hoping that your body was just going to kind of figure it out and hope that you could just avoid those medications in that window of time?
Not really. To be real honest, during that period of time, I just thought I was going to die. And I just thought it was just a matter of time. Kind of like I think when they tell somebody you have 3 months or 6 months or a year, whatever, I just thought, based on what he told me, one day it was just going to happen and that was going to be the end of it. And I was, for the most part, prepared. I just said, you know what, if that's God's plan, that's so be it. And that's really the way I was living my life in between until I went out and met Dr. Nelson.
Okay. Yeah, that's a scary place to be. So did you feel like you were really just at the mercy then of kind of natural order, and then you had just the last amount of time left that the doctor had told you?
Exactly. I just thought, some people go early, some don't. I started thinking only the good die young, so maybe that was me.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary place to be. So then you meet Dr. Linda Nelson. She tells you have candida. She gives you this protocol and program. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Which program did you go on? How long were you on it? Which supplements did you take?
I went on the Candida program, pure simple Candida, for two. Actually, I was really on it for about 2.5 months, because now looking back at it, I had it really bad. And at the time, of course, I didn't realize bad or not bad. I had no idea. Um, so I got on it for 2.5 months. I did 3 liquid detoxes during that time frame. I lost weight. I mean, I felt so good. I took all the supplements. I took the cleanse and the detox and the fiber, the calcium, the daily. I took the balance. Back then it wasn't called balance yet, but it was for the hormone. I took oh gosh, the vital, the vitamin D, all those. I took them all. And I'll be honest with you, when I was taking them, I was thinking, man, this is an awful lot of stuff you have to take. Much like my clients say to me now when I put them on programs. But the great thing is, because I went through it and I did it, I understand the feeling, the mental feeling, what people are thinking, because it's so out of conventional medicine norms that people are like, why am I taking 50 different capsules every day? And the reason is because what it did for me is just amazing. I have a picture of myself in each one of my offices. In fact, Patty made them up for me, one a before picture, and I have them in each office. And I show clients, and people tell me to this day, you look younger now than you did 20 years ago. And I think that's the ultimate compliment of holistic wellness, is just knowing that people that didn't know me, that just see me now, look at me there and say, and I've had people argue and they tell me, that's not you. That I've had people say, that looks like your father. That looks like, no, that was me 20 some years ago. And on death's bed, I think, practically.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So within that 2.5 months that you were on your program, when would you say you had that aha moment that the Melise products were different than anything else you'd ever tried before, and you were really feeling that change in your body?
About day 10, and I'll tell you what happened. It was I was on my liquid detox, first one, and it was my 3rd day of liquid. I woke up morning of day 10, and it was daylight. And I had a dog, a golden retriever, and there was just a puppy then, and she was standing by the door waiting to go out. And I woke up and I thought to myself, did I fall asleep during the day and take a nap, or is it morning? I just couldn't register, because for so many years I hadn't slept all night. I could take it to the bank that I would wake up at, if I went to bed at 11, I was going to be awake at 12:15, 12:30. And all of a sudden I wake up and it's daylight, and my dog wanted out, because normally I'd get in the middle of the night, let her out, she'd come back, and whatever. That was my aha moment. And I went to work, and I told people, I said, you know what? I slept all night last night. And people looked at me like I had 2 heads, like, what do you normally do, right? But it was such an awakening. And then the energy started coming from that point. So I would say before the end of the 2nd week, it was just like everything's changed. Everything just started to evolve. And I started realizing what it felt like to feel good, to have energy during the day, to sleep all night, not have the headache, not have the bloating and the dizziness and equilibrium problems. That all went away. I used to have acid reflux so terribly, terribly bad. And I remember at work, somebody was at work and they said, anybody here have any Tums or antacids? And it dawned on me, and I went, what did I do with my stuff I always carried? Because it went away so subtly that I didn't realize I forgot I had it. And I was like, my desk drawer, oh, here's some, because but I hadn't used them. And I realized then that the changes were happening, and a lot of them I didn't even realize, because when you feel really bad and it starts to change, you don't pay attention, because that's our brain, I think, knows that we're not supposed to feel bad. But when we start feeling better, we kind of forget that we felt that bad. So that's kind of a long answer, I think, for you, but that's when it really started to evolve. And that Dr. Nelson talks about the aha moment. That was my aha moment. That morning when I woke up and it was daylight and I slept all night, and I said, this is working. This is fabulous.
Wow, that must have been a defining moment for you to go from, feeling like you have 3 to 6 months to live, even a year to live, to then realizing you have the rest of your life.
Well, yeah, I had no idea. The way they put it to me, I could have been one day. I didn't know, the way they said, get your affairs in order, you're going to be face down the pavement. And even now with life, I mean, I do things now that I couldn't do 20 years ago. I can walk 18 holes of golf. I can go out hiking and come back and not feel. Back then, if I did that stuff, I would just hurt for days if I walked a golf course. My legs, everything hurt. And now I can do those kind of things and I don't have the issues.
That's fantastic. So now, what does your maintenance look like? Do you take supplements every day? Have you continued to go on programs throughout the year?
I do. I take supplements every single day. That's going to be something I'm going to do until the day I do leave this earth. Okay. I understand the necessity to supplement the body to get the right nutrients in the body. So every day I take supplements. My maintenance plan consists of detoxing at least once every 2 months. So I take a week and do a complete detox every 2 months. We tell our clients once every 3 months, but I just know the value, so I move it up. During the situation we're in right now with the COVID, I'm doing it every month, because I just know that there's things we have to take care of ourselves, in my opinion, the way we would take care of anything else. When times get hard, you step it up, okay? So yes, my maintenance plan is what I call a constant program, always being cognizant of what you're eating. Not that I'm always perfect, don't get me wrong, but what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, my water. I mean, I'm addicted to water. If I don't have my water bottle handy, I just feel like I'm missing something. So I drink at least a gallon of pure, clean water every day. And so far for the 20 years, that's worked for me. Now, I have done a Candida program probably once every 2 years. I'll do a 30-day Candida program, only because I know the value. I know that it just gives me that boost of energy, additional energy. And as I get older, I just realize that I have to take better care of this antique than I did when it was young and like you are, okay? So I'm the antique here, so I got to take care of that a lot better than I would have 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yes, well, you're looking great.
Well,
nowadays, it's like we see all of the time these quick fixes, this overnight quick fix that so many companies market. But it sounds like for you, you've really adopted a lifestyle of health, and it's really paid off for you.
Yes, and the quick fixes, and I will go back to when I was sick, not sleeping at night. You turn on the TV and you see all these infomercials, and they would tell you, if you're having this problem and that problem, take this one capsule or do this one thing and everything will go away. Well, the ones I tried didn't make anything go away, okay, except my bank accounts would keep going away. And so I knew, and that's one reason when I met Dr. Nelson and she told me all this stuff, and I'm like, I've tried things and nothing has worked. So I know even with my clients now, a lot of times they say the same thing. I've tried so many things and nothing seems to work. And I tell them, I'll put my reputation, I'll put my life on the line, that if you do the way I did it, follow the protocol 100%, it will work. And it's been proven over the years. And I tell all my clients this, there's only one way the system doesn't work with Melise, and that's if you don't follow the protocol. If you follow the protocol, it will work, because that's the way the human body works and heals, is through proper nutrients, proper eating, taking care of yourself, sleep, all those things, exercise. We have to do it all if we're going to take care of ourselves and live a quality life.
Absolutely. So over the last 21 years, how many clients would you say that you've helped go through a complete health transformation?
Wow. There's got to be thousands. I have no idea the numbers, but there are thousands of people. When I opened up one office, and it was amazing. I ran some ads in a little penny saver type thing, and people were coming out of the woodwork about, I have fibromyalgia, I have this and that. And I was like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff happened out there. Even after I gotten well, I didn't think there was that many people. And I started working with people, and I opened up my full-time in 2000. And then by 2005, I had outgrown it. And I opened up so I opened one up in a little bit north of here, of my Southwick office. And then I had a therapist who I had been working with her sister, and she called me and she said, I want to know what you're doing with my sister. And she said, I am a therapist, and I've never seen her this happy. I've never seen her this vibrant. What are you doing with her? And I was a little skeptical to tell her anything because I didn't know who she was. And so I said, let me talk to your sister and see if it's okay. And she gave me the okay. And I called this therapist back, and I said, told her what we were doing. We have candida. She had candida, and I was getting that out of her system. And she said, well, I think I need to come in. And she said, and come in and bring her partner. So they came in, I put them on a program. And after that, this lady referred virtually all of her clients to me, and she'd been in business for years. So, but she was in Connecticut. So she said, you're going to have to open up a place in Connecticut because people aren't going to come into Massachusetts. So I ended up opening up one in Connecticut in 2006. That's how I ended up with 3. So, and we have all 3 of our offices going at this time. And so that's kind of how things evolved, from having 1 location, then 2, then right soon after 3.
Wow, you've truly made an incredible impact with helping all of the clients that you have. So for any of the clients that are watching today that have experienced many of the symptoms that you've talked about, and they'd like to get in contact with you and really learn more about the value you're providing, how can they reach you?
Well, before I give that information, I just want to tell you that I work with people really all over the country. I do phone consultations. This evening at 6 o'clock, I have a nurse who wants to do a phone consultation because she's working with COVID patients, and she just said, I need something natural. So I'm going to do a phone consultation. She is a friend of one of my clients, but I do phone consultations all over the country. So you can contact me from anywhere. We can do everything over the phone. We can do it through Zoom or any way that you prefer, because it's better. I always feel it's better if I can meet with the person and see them and put them on the machines that we have. But you know what? I've had people in Florida. I've had people all over the country that have done the programs and had fabulous success, and that I stay in touch with every month, all the time, and keep them on the right nutrients and guide them properly. So not just in my local area. So if somebody's watching this from coast to coast, call. But my practice name is Alternative Health, and the best phone number is 413-569-1155. And people don't have to go on a full-fledged program. They can just call. I can talk to them and give them some ideas. I'm not the type who's going to try to pressure you into doing anything, because I learned, and this is something my mentor and Dr. Nelson taught me, is it has to be up here. You have to want to get well, okay? I can tell you what's wrong. I can tell you what to do, but if it's not in your mind to do it, it's a moot point. But you know what? If you talk to me and we plant the seed, maybe even if you're not ready now, maybe you'll be ready a little bit later. a quick story. I have a young lady who's 18 years old right now, and she's in a Candida program, and the transformation on her is just fabulous. Her name is Sophia, and it was so funny. Her mom brought her in, and I was talking to her, and I remember her because her mom had done a program 10 years ago. And the young lady who's 18 now, she says, yep. She says, I remember this office. My mom brought me in here 10 years ago. I was only 8 years old, and she wanted me to do this. And I said, I'm not doing that, and I refused. But 10 years later, here she is doing the program because she felt so unhealthy. And just talking to her on the phone sometimes, I just can't believe it's the same person, how she's evolved I think she's been on program for a month only. She got another month to go. And her mother is so proud of her, and it is just fabulous as to the change in people. So whether they're young or they're older like me, it doesn't make any difference. The body will change and heal itself if we allow it to, and if you have it up here and you want to feel better and get better.
Yes, that is absolutely right. Well, thank you, John, so very much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and thank you for your continued commitment to your community and for all of the clients out there that are really looking for solutions that work. We appreciate you so very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add today?
I want to thank you for your time, and I love telling my story because I think it's important for people to hear. Plus, sometimes I just like to talk about myself, I guess, okay? But I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Linda Nelson. And I just want to tell you that there are still times when I call her and I ask for advice or situations that I haven't seen before. In fact, it just happened this past weekend. And she is so accommodating and so loving. That woman saved my life. She started me on my career. She has just been an angel in disguise. And you know what? I hope that someday I will hear that people will say the same thing about myself, because that's what we're here for, to help each other, love each other, and help us love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves. But the Melise product has been a godsend for me and so many clients. And I just thank everybody, and God bless each and every one of you out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John. Well, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.